I'd love one of you, the one that whoever thinks they give a brief history, 2 minutes of what you know the camp from its beginning until they close their doors.
Dan, do you want to share the early stuff, and I'll do a little bit too?
I'll do my best, and obviously Don pick up, and Andrew, who was there later than
Andrew was later.
you and I, than you and I, Don. The camp was formed in 1907 by Philadelphians who I think were motivated by giving young boys who were privileged upbringings and had a soft upbringing, sort of the woods experience and the roughing it experience. And I think when we visited other camps, they were surprised to find out we lived in tents over platforms and cabins without electricity or running water, any of that, and spent July competing and August in the woods. And there were several founders of the camp, all connected to Philadelphia. Lou Fleischer, the one I know the most, because he was alive when Don and I went to camp, and he was an Olympian. And there were a lot of traditions. And part of the tradition was that campers and counselors, Jewish and Gentile, all commingled. And Don made a remark about that before, but I can remember when one of the team captains, we were divided into maroon and gray for the entire summer, and in friendly competition. And one year I was there, the maroon captain was a Jewish civilian, if you will, from Philadelphia, and the gray captain was the other captain was the son of a counselor. So we all commingled. It was sort of secular in the sense that in junior camp and senior camp, we got together on Sunday evenings for a quiet hour and reflection and more of a somber evening activity as opposed to movies and other kind of evening activities. And the ownership eventually came to Harry Myers and Hart Stoddard. Harry ran junior and Hart ran senior. And then Tom Wilson came on the scene, and Dan Alexander were two of the directors in our era. And I would sort of pass it off to Don and Andrew to sort of fill in the rest of the ownership story.
Well, I don't know about the ownership. It was Bernie Lemonick after that. I guess what I'd like to touch on is what Dan mentioned. We had color war, and probably the second day we were there as campers, the two captains that had been chosen the year before chose everybody to be on their team. Half the camp was maroon, half was gray. So your tent mate might be your opponent at some point, even though he was your best friend, on the other team. So it made it very interesting, and it was all consuming. I mean, everything we did was points related. There was softball every evening, baseball. We had track on Saturday. Remember swimming on Sunday? It always rained. Dan will remember that. It was almost over the top competition. And then the second half of the season for us was trip season. And the youngest group, the Pioneers, went to Tumbledown for a week. The second year group went to Katahdin for a week. The third year group went on Moose River, and then later a sailing trip for about 11 days. The oldest group, which you'll find out was called the first section, we were gone for 18 days on the Allagash and St. John River. And you were in the woods.
Take a moment to shine.